masters of horror.
Welcome to the Scariest Things Podcast, your gateway to the trends and tropes of the horror genre. We've got something a little different this week. This is spooky time with the Scariest Things. So now we're going to be in your podcast feed weekly, in addition to our regular themed and Roman numeraled episodes. So you'll still get
formerly Roman numerals.
Way too confusing.
You'll still
episodes formerly known as Roman numerals.
You'll still get our long themed podcast episode, but this is just something new, so we can talk about what we're reading, listening to, watching, looking forward to, horror news, festival news, and everything you need to be up to date on. And I am Liz Williams, and I'm joined by
Eric Lee,
Mike Campbell,
and Robert Zilbauer.
Hi, guys. All right. So, like I said to our listeners, we just want to make sure that we are in your podcast feed, giving you all the scariest things. So, something new we're going to try out for 2023, spooky time.
Spooky time. And this sort of replaces what we used to do was grave digging at the end of our other episodes, but our episodes get longer and longer and we run out of time to do the grave digging. So this is, we're going to unearth our stuff in these shorter segments.
Perfect.
And I was going to say, Eric, if you go all the way in the Wayback Machine and go to listen to the first episodes, pre-grave digging, we used to do sort of a weird kind of +1 movies you should see and movies you shouldn't see, which then evolved into the grave digging.
And then we just sort of abandoned the graveyard.
And then the graveyard is gone. Now we're just being spooky.
Yeah, we moved the headstones, but we left the bodies behind.
Exactly. It is exactly what we did.
Nothing can be wrong with that.
No, absolutely not.
Ask Greg T.
Absolutely not.
Totally fine. All right. So we are going to jump right in, and I'm going to go first because I'm in the top square on our Zoom. So I am going to talk about 2 books that you should get in your hands and read. The first has just come out for you to purchase, and it is Grady Hendricks' How to Sell a Haunted House. You can read my review on the Scariest Things, but I have given this one a 4.5 out of 5 stars. We all love Grady here. And the gist of this is when the parents of Louise and Mark are killed in a gruesome car accident, the siblings are left with 2 things: their long simmering disdain for each other and the family house in Charleston, South Carolina. However, their mom was a puppeteer, so the house is filled with puppets, and they have to clean it out, decide whether to sell and what to do with all mom's treasures. Horrible, horrible puppet horror ensues.
That's scary already. Just
it
a
is
puppet. Yeah.
Scary. We all love Grady Hendricks. We've read all his books, and this is the actual scariest one.
Liz, you said it's way better than this one.
I did.
Final Girl Support Group, which we were just talking about.
Yes.
For those of you, Eric's is also so. I just started it, as you can see here from where my bookmark is. But I'm super excited to read that one.
It's totally scary, and all I kept thinking of while I was reading it was that damn clown from Poltergeist.
Under the bed, on top of the bed, under the bed,
gets the little boy. So definitely get yourself to Powell's, Amazon, your local bookstore, wherever you get your books, and purchase this. Give Grady Hendricks your money so he can keep writing for us. My second pick is going to be a 5-star review that I did last year, and that is The Cabin at the End of the World by Paul Trevor.
Yeah.
All right. Got to read this book because you only have about 2 weeks until A Knock at the Cabin, the M. Night Shyamalan movie based on this book comes out, and you don't want to be the guy in the theater going, but I didn't read the book. I saw the movie first. Don't be that guy.
Do you know if M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong, does he vacillate from the book at all? Do we
I
know?
do not know. The preview
Okay.
looks pretty close to the book.
Yeah.
And kind of gives away a little bit of it. So read
It
the book
does,
first,
yeah.
get in there, and then put your butt in the seat and go see Knock at the Cabin.
And Eric, you said you were listening to the audiobook, yeah?
Oh, nice.
I picked up the audiobook, but I haven't actually invested in it yet. So I'm probably going to have to jam that into my headphones prior to the show. I've had some people say, watch the movie, then listen to it. And it's like, how do you know? You haven't seen the movie yet. The movie's not. So I don't know whether I want to. One will spoil the other, and I guess the question is which way to go.
Right.
I'm a little unsure at this point because
and you know that I reviewed this in 2018. You guys, I said last year. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
2018 is
Still wow.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
book shaming from Liz Williams.
Woo! So read it, listen to it before you see the movie. All right, that's my spooky time.
All right, my spooky time is also a book. For those of you listening with earbuds in your ears, this is the cover of What Moves the Dead, a new book by T. Kingfisher. I mistakenly, in our last podcast, if you listen to it, I talked briefly about this book. I misidentified Ms. Kingfisher as a male, but indeed, Ms. Kingfisher is a female. My mistake. This is a really interesting book, and it's got a really interesting conceit. The original Edgar Allan Poe, Fall of the House of the Usher, which came out in 1893, I believe, clocked in at about 6,500 words, which is it's like a couple long Vanity Fair articles. It's like 26 pages long. And she, being a huge fan of horror, and went back and reread this classic and said, God, this thing leaves a lot to the imagination, and it begs a lot more questions than it actually answers. And so she posited this idea, like, what if I took all the pieces and parts of Fall of the House of the Usher and kind of filled them in? She doesn't go radically longer than 26 pages. I think the book in total is about 160 pages. But she fills in enough of the pieces and parts of the story involving Roderick and his sister, who is infirm, maybe mentally ill. And she fills it in with an interesting, which we love here at the Scariest Things Podcast, a sort of a plant-based fungal disease kind of horror piece. And she explains or puts out there that's really the thing that's causing her to walk at night or wake up from her cataleptic sleep and wander around the mansion. So it's a really interesting book. It's really great. I love the idea too, because it got me thinking about, like Lovecraft did a lot of these short stories. A lot of them felt kind of incomplete. Stephen King has done a ton of short stories. Some are complete, some feel a little unfinished. And it was like, that's such a great idea to basically take one of these master works and like actually finish it out. And I know, obviously, with Stephen King, The Boogeyman's coming out this year, which was also sort of a short story that they've decided to stretch out a little bit and fill in.
Maximum Overdrive.
Maximum Overdrive, exactly. Thank you very much.
Well, okay.
I've heard good things about that book, better things than Maximum Overdrive.
Yeah. Yes. But and speaking of Stephen King short stories, I think we're going to be seeing a trailer for The Boogeyman very soon, and it's already getting huge hype. So I would encourage you to read B, read short stories, and C, go back and look at the classics. But before you do, check out Ms. Kingfisher's book, What Moves the Dead. Came out in late 2022. So we're in 2023, a couple months ago, but yeah, brand spanking new.
Nice.
Check it
Sounds
out.
good to me. All right, Eric, what you got?
Well, I got a couple of things, and I'll move through them pretty quick. The first one is that we talked about this in our last episode of things that we are looking forward to and the nature of streaming content and Hulu. And Alien is got Fede Alvarez is going to do Alien Romulus. And they are currently filming it. They start next month. Start filming it. The only actress we know currently on board is Kaylee Spaney. Not familiar, but she's going to be the lead. But this sort of puts a question mark about what happens to the Ridley Scott universe with Alien Covenant, because those of you who've seen Alien Covenant know that you've got a couple of survivors on a colony ship. So this is going to be completely different.
Is this a David Gordon Green reboot?
I trust Fede Alvarez, though.
It's Fede Alvarez, I think, and this is
Although he was involved in Texas Chainsaw Massacre, last year's Texas Chainsaw Massacre, so
I blocked it out.
Well,
Sorry.
Okay. So, but if we can get something that brings the scariness of his Evil Dead take, and that's what, and the sort of the thrills that we got from Don't Breathe.
Yeah.
He's got a good pedigree. He's got a very good pedigree to make Alien scary again.
And
I think Sir Ridley is he kind of got caught up in his own backstory issues. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But this is, again, it's going to be a Hulu release.
Okay.
And because they were prompted by the success of Prey.
Yep.
They said that was a winner. We
You're
also
like,
it's
Alien
Hulu is
versus
Fox.
Predator? What?
No, I hope not.
I was going to say that was a very polite way of saying Prometheus sucks.
Yeah.
Yes. So the other thing that I wanted to make mention of is for our the folks who go to our website, because we turned the calendar, and I was staring down the face of a whole lot of sequels and reboots. I was inspired to update the list of weird and wonderful movies that are essentially one-offs. Mike and I, in the immediate pre-Liz era, did talked about weird one-off movies.
Oddball horror.
Oddball horror. And I realized this is what I really love the original stuff. So I broke it into two sections because I couldn't put 50 films on one post. So I broke it into 1920 to 1989 and 1990 to Skinamarink. So all the way up to now.
Oh, nice.
Right. So a lot of people you'll recognize, but I think the thing that I wanted to get to push forward is that horror, particularly low budget horror, is where you can do really adventurous stuff. And so all of these, with the exception of a couple of them, they're not built for sequelization. Some of the real, I had to throw Sharknado in there.
But yeah.
Sharknado was that got sequelized. I also threw Hellraiser in there, which is, if you think about it, there's not a lot of other things that kind of match up to what Hellraiser does. It's a bit of a weird thing, but there are, things like Rubber. I mean, no one's going to try and pull that off
Rubber
again.
2.
I hope that title comes back.
Yeah. But I think you'll find a lot of fun films in here. A lot of ones that if you go, I've seen it, been there, done that. Check out my dead list. And actually both of them at this point. So
yeah, and if you've seen Sharknado, move on to Piranaconda.
Yeah.
Ghost shark.
Right, ghost shark with
Ghost
the
shark.
shark and the teapot.
Or Ghost Shark.
So yeah, but it stretches from the real high-minded stuff like Annihilation, right?
All the way down to
No one's gonna,
Sharknado.
which is unique to all the way down to Sharknado and Human Centipede.
Mhm.
You know,
Hey, the first
And
one
the
was
good news is all this stuff is
Sophisticated
available
stuff.
on Tubi.
yeah, most of
They
it.
just
Pretty
like
much.
shoved it all over there.
Except for Skinamarink, which you're gonna have to go, which you should
Right.
catch in the theaters. Which
Are on the internet.
Yes.
See it in the
So-
theaters. It's worth seeing in the theater. I loved it. We'll talk about that one later.
All right.
Robert.
Robert.
Okay. Well, speaking of Tubi,
Oh,
I'm a big fan of the documentary, and the one I picked up this afternoon, this afternoon. It's actually free on Tubi right now. Came out in the middle of last year, 2022, so like in July. It's called Pennywise: The Story of It.
That's on Tubi.
It's on Tubi.
Oh, I was looking for that.
And it's all about
Interesting.
the very, very first little mini series of It back in 1990 with Tim Curry
Mhm.
and John Boy and Seth Green and everybody. But they just go through the whole thing. They go through how it started. I didn't realize that George Romero was originally attached as a director.
oh,
And I didn't realize they had been thinking of like Harvey Firestein to play Pennywise.
Huh,
Oh,
that voice. I can
wow.
picture
Is
that.
that so
Oh, man.
wrong?
That was good.
It'll flow too.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
Hey,
So it's
Georgie.
really good. It's kind of long. It's over 2 hours. It's like 2 hours and 6 minutes, but they got some great interviews with Tim Curry, recent
nice.
interviews with Tim Curry, like post stroke,
Mhm.
as well as some archival footage. They talked to all the cast members and the writers and the directors. It was really well done. I had a good time with it.
I remember.
Does it cover
that
the
was on
last two
festival
films or the two
circuit.
films?
It covers the miniseries, just that one
Oh,
miniseries that was on ABC back in
interesting.
1990. Yeah, so like a
Oh,
long
huh.
time ago. And how ABC was like freaking out, and they were like, "Yeah, let's make it 8 hours long." And then they were like, "On second thought, let's cut it to 4."
I love the mini series. Kids these
Yeah.
days don't know what they're missing. Where it's like 3 nights in a row.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, now that ends up happening on the HBO Max
Yeah,
or Disney Channel stuff. It's now you get 5 or 6 1-hour episodes of something.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
And that's kind of what they
and
were
then-
saying. The little the one guy that started it, that wrote the first night's script, he was like, if we had been 20 years later on, this would have been, Game of Thrones, because they would have just pushed the
right.
borders even more, and then they could.
yeah,
Space
'cause
Turtles.
it had to be
Space
safe for
Turtles.
network television.
Exactly.
We'll see what happens when Welcome to
Yeah.
Derry comes out.
Oh yeah,
Right.
that's right.
Game
That
of
was on
Thrones.
Liz's
Yeah.
Liz's
My
list.
looking forward list. So.
Absolutely.
Cool. I'm glad to hear that's on Tubi because I remember that being at some of the festivals and they were not providing screeners.
Oh,
I
yeah.
am
So now it's free.
ready to see it.
Yay. Thanks,
Awesome.
Tubi.
Thanks, Tubi. Yeah.
Well, that felt spooky. Did you guys feel?
really
Did that feel
I'm
spooky?
Spooked.
I was
Hella
spooked.
spooky.
I was spooked.
Hella
I'm
spooked.
spooked.
I'm spooked. So that's a wrap on our first
Yay!
inaugural
Hey!
spooky time. So if
And
you like what we're doing, drop us a note, leave us a review on Apple Podcast, and
Smash that like
And-
button.
smash that
And on
subscribe
YouTube,
button.
Subscribe.
because we're putting this on. We're
Yeah.
putting video feed down, which is new.
Because
That
we're
is new.
influencers now.
That's
I
right.
think we are. We'll get better. I will not wear my pajamas next time.
I'll try and not be a Ju-on with a
Yeah,
lollipop.
that is
Yep.
spooky. So
Right.
you met the brief. All right. And we'll see you guys next week.
See ya.
Bye.
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 The Masters of Horror.